A young man who does not have what it takes to perform military service is not likely to have what it takes to make a living. Stated appropriately by John Fitzgerald Kennedy, means to me that a person who cannot brave the military and all its hardships has no chance of surviving in the real world. This quote is a prime example of how there should be mandatory military service in the United States for both men and women. The military teaches organization, self-discipline, and many more extremely important life lessons everyone should learn and embrace. That is why mandatory military service would be practical, logical, and desirable. I am convinced that this plan is the right way to go about getting mandatory military service in the U.S. It involves males and females ages 18 to 42. It is 18 because that is when you are a legal adult, and 42 because that is the maximum age someone can enlist in any branch of the military according to the article, What is the maximum age to enlist in the military? With the exception of mentally ill, disabled, and the physically disabled. For example, in order for someone to be excused from their term of service, you must have a doctor's note. A doctor's note is a signed note or letter from one's doctor stating a legitimate reason why that person cannot serve. This means that the reason for not serving must be a very serious condition. For example, cancer, dialysis, quadriplegic, etc., etc. Therefore, not all medical and physical disabilities are liable reasons for not serving your country, because in this plan, there is the option between working in an office-like environment and being a trained soldier. On that note, one must enlist in any part of the military, in an office or on the main line, during this time period. They would need to go through boot camp if they were going to be on the main line, and would need training if they were to be in an office as a doctor, mechanic, pilot, sailor, or even a janitor. People would also be required to enlist for a minimum of 1 year. If they fail to enlist, there will either be a hefty jail time, or a fine. But if you go for longer than the allotted time, there would be tax benefits. For example, for each year you go over the minimum amount of time needed within the age group of 18 to 42 years, that person would get a benefit, which would most likely be a tax benefit. Lastly, there would be no pension unless you were to make the military your profession. This plan is practical in that people are giving back to the country, and they do not even have to serve for that long. There will always be enough trained soldiers and personnel if we need them for future service in a draft, or if we simply need them. Next, this plan is logical, because it punishes those who fail to meet the 1 year service and benefits for those who exceed the 1 year minimum amount of time. Another reason the plan is logical is because it does not break any of the amendments in the Constitution. All the Constitution states is that the Congress has the, quote, power to raise and support armies, end quote, according to the article, America and the Draft, a 200-year debate. This plan also drastically reduces the chance of there being a draft, because there would be a much bigger number of people in the Army, resulting in more troops, which would result in less a chance of the draft to occur. Lastly, this plan is desirable because it allows the people to choose which branch of the Army they wish to join at whatever age they want within the age limit. Alas, giving people a chance to try something new. The negative team is proposing that the U.S. have an unprepared country if we ever need to use the draft again, but our way prepares the entire country for battle, as well as teaching people important life lessons. Perhaps if there is mandatory military service for the Revolutionary War, Korean War, Civil War, and both World War I and World War II, there would not have been as many casualties at war because more of the soldiers would have been trained instead of given a gun and told to go fight. Because there would be less a chance for a draft, tax benefits, and it gives people a chance to try something new for a little bit, makes this plan practical, logical, and desirable. Like Janice stated in her speech, the definition of military is an organization authorized by its country to use force, usually including the use of weapons, in defeating its country by completing actual or received threats. And the definition of mandatory is authoritatively ordered. When you put two and two together, you get our great plan for mandatory military service. Thank you. Vote affirmative.